Hello, Cret, Goo, Willie. How are y'all doing? And thank you. When I saw this piece again, I was like, oh man, I really want to paint that up. So I'm just taking the opportunity to kind of, do some clean lines that I can paint underneath, right? Because I did not do the original on white paper, so I can't just multiply it. Mess with the color a bit too much, and then I also wanted to rework a few things or just like tweak some shapes, right? One of the things I realized was her the chair doesn't actually make sense. I'm like, wait a second, that looks like she's supposed to be arching her back all sexy like all the time, which would not be very ergonomic and would be very painful after about 5 minutes. So that's why I changed the tilt of the headrest, which I might have to do even more actually looking at it now, because I want it to be almost like my chair where I can I can just flip a switch and be able to like lean way back if I want, or lock it into place. So that's where I figure, okay, let's at least make it feel like it can do that. And so I need to kind of figure out what that would look like. I think more something like that. That feels a little better to me. And also some of this stuff is details that I can address as I'm painting, but I don't want to have to move things around if it's not necessary, right? So and then the other thing I'm gonna have to figure out eventually is the lighting. Because like when I did the original drawing, I kind of only half thought of it. It was almost more of like a graphic design challenge than it was getting into actual lighting and stuff. So I feel like I'm gonna have to figure that out at some point. Yeah, this is like, I don't always do this kind of stuff, but there was a point where I was just having a lot of fun doing these more stylized, like mech girls on like these little mobile mech units. Couldn't tell you what the initial inspiration was for it because I'm not sure. Probably a few things. do those. Let's do that style. Hey, Vigor Somnia. And Mateus Rodriguez. Hello. Hello, Jade. What can't I draw? I mean, honestly, like, I think I've had to draw so many things, so many different kinds of things for work. But also, like, you know, there was a point, honestly, when I did the original of this, right? And for anyone that hasn't seen it, you know, this was my original ink drawing. I wanted to change a couple things, add some little details. You can see very faintly down there on the bottom right. I want to kick that wheel out because the wheel, I was constrained by the proportions of the page that I was working on, and that just happened and it should not have. So I want to kick that wheel out. I'm going to add a few little details into this, but some of it will be textural, some more when I start painting. But when I started drawing these, this was a turning point for me. All of a sudden, loving the more tech, sci-fi, modern kind of shapes. Before that, I really did not like drawing them at all. And I was not good at them. They felt very uncomfortable to me. And this was a big turning point for me. And part of it was I just needed to find my own way of doing it, you know, that worked with the shapes that my hand likes to make. And once I found that, all of a sudden I sort of found my way in. So, you know, it all, like, at this point, yeah, I've drawn a lot of different things for work. I've drawn a ton of different things on my own. And so I don't know that there are things that I'm not comfortable drawing, right? Some things might take a bit of warm-up, especially if I haven't drawn them in a while. But other things, like if I've never drawn them, and every now and then that happens at work, it doesn't happen often these days because, again, as I've said before, if you think of the amount of different things that are on movie posters, TV posters, video game covers, that kind of stuff, right? And I've drawn all of that at one time or another. So, and I'm getting toward the end of my 13th year as a sketch artist, working on game covers and movie posters and TV posters and billboards and all that. So, you know, it's 13 years of drawing a lot of shit. The way, Willie, the way I went about studying it partly was that I had to find mechanical things, right, whose shapes appealed to me. And it wasn't, like, my inclinations don't go toward, like, the sleek sci-fi stuff. I like the chunky sci-fi stuff. So, and so I started looking at more modern heavy machinery, like earth movers and things like that, and sort of looking at some of their chunky shapes and seeing like what I could use from that, albeit on a smaller scale, right? Because obviously nothing in here is the size of anything on an earth mover, but I wanted some of that vibe. And then looking at some of the older, not too much older, but a little bit older military equipment and that kind of thing. And just sort of looking at some of those shapes and, you know, doing little studies of those and then just seeing like, okay, you know, I like practicing getting a handle on that shape language so that I could just play with the shapes and make shit up and hopefully make it look like, oh yeah, in this world, this thing could be functional, right? I didn't want it to look like a complete disaster. And then on top of that, looking at things that have been designed that I really liked, things that really spoke to me. I was a huge fan of the Tank Police movies, right? Back in the 90s when I was younger. Fucking loved those things. I loved those tanks. I loved the kind of like organic quality, you know, those along with like that like spider tank and Ghost in the Shell, you know? So like things like that kind of also showed me that, oh wait, I can, you know, I can use organic shapes and it can still feel plausible or possible, let's say. I don't need it to be plausible, but I do want it to feel possible. Right. I guess what I was thinking was I don't want it to feel probable so much as possible or plausible, let's say. So, and you know, you don't have to know exactly how some of this stuff actually works, right? But you do want to kind of pay attention to, all right, well, if these things are going to move around in a certain way, how many different moving pieces might it need to accomplish that, right? Aside from, you know, the possibility aside from that, there's no way she'd be going into battle that exposed, but whatever. That's taking it too far. The plausibility factor. Vagor, I definitely want to get back to my cyber elves. I have an image in mind. I just need to kind of take the time to thumbnail it out a bit. But also, I mean, this is a total divergence, and it's really just like because I really just felt like doing this today, and it was one of those high octane days at work, really trying to figure out a process for 2 illustrations that have to be done by end of day Friday. So started out very slow today, but ended up in a good place, so I'm feeling pretty confident about them. But I'm a little tired from that, so I don't always like to work on my actual projects if I've had kind of a, you know, brain teaser, brain buster day. Because I feel like the actual projects are things that I guess matter, so to speak, and if I'm going to put time into them, I want to make sure that I'm using that time. But sometimes it's good to just let your mind be able to go on autopilot a little bit. And then, the other thing I think that helped me sort of bridge the gap and get into some other shapes beyond the organic stuff I was used to was just being okay with not having like perfectly clean lines, and because I do tend to get a bit of line jitter, like hand jitter, especially at certain angles, and with organic stuff that's fine, it totally doesn't even matter. With techie stuff, it might matter a bit more unless you can kind of establish a look that supports that kind of thing. And I feel like part of what is involved in finding your own look for something, or your own style, or whatever you want to call it, is kind of learning to work around any sort of possible shortcomings you might have, because sometimes they might be, like I said, I have this line jitter. I mean, you can see it in these lines, right there, right here. It just happens sometimes, and but if I've sort of established a look that's okay with, then that's fine, and I don't mind that, because it's just sort of, it happens, and oh well, and realistically, when you're talking about style, all we're talking about is like the underlying handwriting under whatever it is we do, right? So regardless of whether I draw something that's very cartoony, streamlined and stylized in that regard, or if I draw something that's very that's a lot more realistic, or if I draw in pen or if I draw in pencil, it doesn't matter. My style, my underlying handwriting, which is really just the marks that I'm drawn to as an artist, are probably going to show through, almost definitely going to show through. And that's really all we're talking about when we talk about style, right? And hey Lennis, how's it going? Yes. Any books I recommend? Any books? Willie, what kind of book are you asking about? And of course, with Procreate, I can. If I want perfectly straight lines, it's easy enough to do that. But I don't know. Sometimes I feel like it doesn't matter so much if I'm going to be painting the whole thing anyway. Right? Like, I can straighten stuff up as I go. Plus, I can get straight enough lines. It doesn't matter. Shit. Honestly, like, I don't think I would have any books that I would specifically recommend for, like, drawing mechs, right? Like, I wouldn't go that specific, because you're going to get derivative, and you don't want to do that. Ideally, you will have, like, your own look, right, to what you do. And so totally fine if you want to study the way some other artists have drawn mechs. I think that's valid. and worthwhile. But I would really encourage you to just like look around. I mean, just online, there's such cool machinery out there. And I would do studies from actual machinery. And like, don't worry about whether or not you know how it functions. Get used to those shapes. Get used to that type of detail, because that's really what it was. Like, I already loved doing detail sometimes, but what I wasn't used to was that mechanical type of detail, the wires and the gears, or the hydraulics, pistons, and then any kind of like covering that they might have, all that stuff. I wasn't used to thinking about those things. And so I would say look at heavy machinery for mechs and stuff. Like, look at turrets, like actual turrets that you'll get on battleships and that kind of stuff. Look at, I was looking at some of the giant howitzers that they use in modern day warfare when I was drawing and painting up that other mech girl who was actually inspired by this girl, because she's also painting her nails in that other one. I just decided to put her on a giant mech, right? Like a Pacific Rim size mech. But I was looking at those big like howitzers and just the heavy machine guns that they use in modern warfare, because those things just have such cool details. I mean, I hate to talk about giant guns that way, but just from an artist standpoint, they really have awesome looking details. So I would look at that stuff, and look at tech use fast code. Yeah, I agree. And just you can look into like just sort of cutting edge type of stuff, where new materials that they might be coming up with that can maybe lend themselves to some other kinds of shapes as well. Like, that stuff is kind of fun to research for a little bit, and then your brain just starts to hurt and you're like, okay, I'm gonna draw something. I don't know how detailed I want to make this bullet belt, but fuck it, I put it in there, let's do it. Sometimes I look at some of these things, I'm like, oh my god, do I want to paint all that? But can't not put it in, it would look ridiculous. Not ridiculous, but it just wouldn't be as cool. Plus, I like the sort of low-tech vibe that it gets, by having this bullet belt. It just seems like something, we've all seen and understand. So that always kind of helps. I should probably look at an actual bullet belt for this, but I don't really care that much. I'm sure someone online will call me out and be like, actually, that wouldn't work because blah, blah, blah. You're like, whatever. Tell you what, you go 100 years in the future and you tell them that. I'm just the artist, dude. It'll turn into another knife expert trying to tell me how to draw swords. Which, by the way, he was wrong. Just FYI. Apparently, knife knowledge does not translate to sword knowledge. If he had taken 2 minutes to look up sabers, he would have seen that they do in fact often, or did in fact often have forward curved handles, forward curved grips. It is, Willie, it is tricky. They have a lot of little things going on. There are sometimes a lot of little moving parts, sometimes not. Handguns are pretty simple. At least the good ones, I think, have very few moving parts. And it's all practice. Jade, yes, I did go to art school. Technically, I guess I went to 2 art schools. I went I went to junior college because I knew I wanted to do art, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with it. And we all know that art is such a broad term. So first I went to junior college, then I went to DigiPen Institute of Technology for computer animation, and that was a 2-year program. In that program, I discovered that concept art was a thing because I didn't know about it at the time. This was in 2000, right? In the year 2000. So we didn't quite have all the cool stuff at our disposal that everyone does now. I'm a little jealous of what young artists have at their fingertips now. Didn't quite have that then. And then after DigiPen, I decided I wanted to focus more on concept art and illustration, so I went back to school. I went to Art Center College of Design here in Pasadena. Still live in Pasadena. Okay, I'm not gonna get super specific with these. I feel like they're at enough of the same angle that when I paint them, I can probably maybe get away with duplicating, but at the same time, I know that I'm going to end up going a little bit painterly in some of these places, so I might not bother duplicating, and I might just have them kind of loosen up after a certain point. That's usually my go-to because I get impatient with certain things. I don't like to I'm not gonna get in there and render every single bullet, you know? That's just silly. But I don't know, we'll see. Like I said, sometimes it's nice to just get into something where you can zone out, and so sometimes rendering allows you to do that. As my Design 1 teacher was fond of saying, it's zanal, right? It gets so anal, it's zen. And I can agree with that. So I think I'm probably gonna kind of stick to what I have here. I like that I was silhouetting a bit here, though some of the shapes I'm like, wait a second, why did I make them different? And I can always detail this out later if I really want to. which I might. I mean, I may add some detail, but still, I'll probably still keep it like pretty ghosted back, like foggy kind of. But at some point, I am really, really gonna need to figure out the lighting. But I'm pretending it doesn't exist right now. Like not just, I mean, the lighting in terms of like, you know, time of day and roughly maybe what kind of environment she's in, even though I'm probably not gonna like get super detailed with the environment, but I definitely want to give it some thought. And right now I've got nothing. We'll see. We'll see. One of the coolest pieces of machinery, I think, are those big, the big movers that move the rockets, right? That go out into space. Dude, those things are crazy, and they're so big, and they're just these giant platforms and on like caterpillar treads, and they're so cool looking. That ellipse is off. Ellipses. Oh, ellipses. And it's tricky because it's not just an ellipse, but it's like this curved, kind of domed shape. So I gotta take that into account too. Right? If I think of just the top surface. Alright. Because I didn't draw it right in the first place. I hate that shit. Oops. Get our little nail polish bottle in here. Yep. It is basically that Vagor. That one was inspired by this one. I think at the time I just felt like doing something new. Partly because I also wanted to do something with India ink and stuff. So I was like, oh, let's just make it almost like an evolution, I think. Reflected monitor lighting. Yeah. Or it could be like almost like a promotion or something, right? Like now, and in that later one, she's like now piloting some like giant mech instead of like this little dinky one. That was kind of my thinking behind it. So make sure we get some hint of like a flat surface here. Yeah, but then I posted this one again Saturday night, and when I saw it, I was like, oh man, I really kind of want to paint this one up because it just looks like fun. That is one thing I do love playing with, are the kind of worn like textures, right? Like the kind of textures you can get into playing with, like, you know, old paint jobs and that kind of thing is a lot of fun, I think. And then I wanted to adjust the pedals down by her feet too, because I'm like, well, her legs don't quite look long enough to really, like, yeah, they could, I guess. It's just this one on the left that's bugging me a bit. So we'll get to it. We'll get to it. The only thing, like, I kind of, if I did place her, yeah, if I did place it like she's in a cargo bay, I would probably have it be like, you know, they're taking a break or something, so I'd have like the cargo bay doors open, which would be kind of fun, right? And I could have maybe the bottom third of it in shadow, like the cargo bay doors are just like partially open, you know, something like that could be kind of fun. Have like natural sort of sunlight coming in, and then more, you know, tech lit interior possibly. But I don't know, I also still kind of like the idea of her just being outside somewhere. Like she's posted somewhere and just nothing's happening. She's bored. So we'll see. It's fun sometimes to play with that bright outdoor lighting, I think. So we shall see. Yes, with the perfect magenta nails. And I think that was one of the things that got me on, like, I don't know why, it just got, like, magenta, like, stuck in my head. Even though I've kind of always liked that color. But then, it was that then kind of inspired the color scheme for the cyber elves and stuff, so... Not sure why, just did. Sometimes you just can't fight it. Just gotta run with it, you know? I don't know why I'm still kind of playing with thicks and thins, knowing that this line art is gonna get obliterated. But, oh well, I can't help it. It's like just how my hand wants to move. Plus, I feel like you just want to take advantage of all the practice you can get, right? So even knowing that the line art is going to get totally obliterated in the painting, that's no excuse not to practice doing some line art that has some character, right? Don't want to get lazy here. Let's see. I want her to have it's very dramatic music for just painting her nails, but maybe she's like the most epic nail painter. I'm thinking this has like a thumb switch kind of thing where it has like one of those covers on it, right? So she just like flips out the cover and then has access to the button, the kill everything in sight button. Only used in the most dire of emergencies. It's funny because I'll sit here and redo ellipses when I know I could just use the ellipse tool in Procreate, but the reality is, like, if you can actually draw ellipses, it's just quicker, right? But I mean, I could just, you know, do my ellipses if I wanted to, but like that. But I don't know. At the same time, I could also just practice drawing them and maybe get them close enough. And it keeps the character. I still think Sketchbook Pro has the best ellipse guide, ellipse tool, right? You set your ellipse and then your mark just automatically tracks it, but it's pressure sensitive, so you can still get the line weight that you want in the right portion of the ellipse, but the mark will automatically track wherever you set the ellipse, which I think is awesome, because then you can set your ellipse, set the guide and then do your ellipse and then just move the guide and do the next one and the next one and the next one. And you can do these concurrent ellipses that are in the same perspective and stuff, or you can just make it bigger so it's still in the same perspective, it's just a larger one, and it's just such a great tool. I kind of wish more people would just blatantly rip it off. And it's like, it's such an obvious tool when you think about it. It's literally just doing a digital version of an ellipse guide, of an analog ellipse guide. And for some reason, nobody else did it. I like Procreates as well, but it's not as cool, I don't think. I don't feel like it's quite as functional. And then of course Photoshop doesn't even have one. So they kind of suck. Sorry, Adobe. But that's what they get for like ignoring the artists, right? And insisting that they just do things for photographers. I shouldn't say artists, I should say illustrators. Because photographers are artists too. Let's get that clear. Yeah, I haven't really, like, I've toyed with the idea of doing some like actual comics, and even toyed with the idea of like short comics. Like before I actually landed on a little different style for Monk and Fish, I did do some, like, I got 3 panels in, and then I was like, oh damn, 1, I got to design these characters. 2, I want to do a little different style. So, but I was sort of playing off the old Prince Valiant comics, where it's like, you know, it's not text balloons like thought bubbles and shit. So I did start this, and the idea was that it would be on like an A4 page, right? 2 panels per page. So like starting here and then going to here. Sorry, this is not about reading them right now. And then here, but I never quite finished this one because I was like, oh yeah, actually I need to think through this a little more and tweak it a bit. So it's not out of the question. I like the idea of it, and of all my projects, I feel like Monk and Fish would work the best for that. You know, and I had done some other, you know, sort of like scenes that would probably go in there as well, though I'd want to rework them too. So we'll see. I'm trying to like narrow things down a little bit, and just so I can focus a bit more, and so I understand what I need to focus on, because it was starting to get a little too hectic, and my brain was starting to feel scattered and spread thin like butter over too much bread. There, see who needs a ruler. I do kind of want to add like some little oh yeah, forgot I had that crossbar in there. I don't know why, I just like the look of it. Thanks, man. It is a fun project, and that's actually one of the ones that I do want to focus on because it's fairly far along, and it's something that I feel like I could do something with. you know, where some of the others I'm starting to like kind of kick story ideas around because they're just like, as I'm illustrating, I'm like, oh my god, and then this and this and this. I'm like, oh dude, that would be a cool story. But it's like, you know, they're nowhere near any kind of you know, I don't know why I have these on separate layers because it's completely unnecessary, and it's just annoying me. You know, they're nowhere near being able to actually like pitch the stories or whatever, you know, do something with them. So I figure like, okay, let's focus on something that is far along and let's see what we can do with that, you know, and then maybe whatever we do with that might give us some extra room to do further develop some other things. You know, like I'm still wanting to start a Patreon that, you know, where I could really kind of dig into doing, like getting into the development process on some of these things, on like a couple different, probably monk and fish, and then something else that isn't as stylized, you know, so we can kind of run the gamut of doing these different things. Yeah, you know, the comic panels don't bother me as much because then I can think more, almost more like finitely, right? In terms of what is happening specifically in that scene. Because I'm glad that most of my stuff implies a larger story because that's usually my goal. I want it to feel like it's a vignette from something bigger. But sometimes it's a challenge to think of like, okay, what will give it that feel that it's something, that it's a smaller scene from a larger world. Whereas, yeah, with something like a comic, sorry, that tangent is bothering me. And we can change that easily. But yeah, with a comic, I can maybe not worry about that so much. Because I could actually tell the larger world, right? I could actually show that and tell that story. But at the same time, comics are so much work. And since I work full time, like, you know, that's a lot of work. I like that, but I think we're gonna want to move this. When I think about my intention with it, I actually want it to be almost more of like a more flexible kind of a joystick almost. I'm trying to think of, well, no, maybe we can have it a little more upright actually. Whoa. And I don't mind it being a little bit smaller, but what I want to get in there is the old like Atari style accordion stuff at the bottom, right? To make it feel like it could move. Like that's how she actually directs it. You know, my idea was that joystick on the left is how she actually directs it. The other one would be more of a throttle, right? Fast, slow, kind of a thing. She's got her handbrake as well on the left. Maybe, you know, machine gun and something else. I feel like all we have are the machine guns, but she's got that trigger and that thumb button on the joystick. So I think we're gonna have to add I know what we're gonna add. I just don't know exactly where we're gonna add it, but we'll get there. We'll add some grenade launchers because, you know, grenade launchers are cool. But I also need to turn this ever so slightly away from us, so we're gonna have to figure that out. I think there are a few things that might help. Yeah, like the old gear shift covers. Although even the new ones more tend to have like just like leather, not the accordion thing. But I'm just thinking of like when I used to drive my dad's tractor as a kid. Like I'm just thinking of like those clunky kind of shapes, you know. Loved that shit. Let's It's funny because like doing this originally and some of the stuff I didn't, it just had to like basically work, right? At first glance. My mantra of if it doesn't look wrong, it's right. But now, like, if I'm gonna actually paint it up, I have to actually think through the space and the perspective of the shapes and all that shit. So I can't just hide behind like, it looks right enough. So thinking of perspective here, this, I don't feel like we're that much higher. Right, because my thought, like she's got one knee higher than the other, but my thought behind that was that, you know, where this leg is like going away from us, right? And she's got her foot relaxed there, then this leg, her foot is probably straight up, right? So that's why that knee is higher up, but I don't really want that to be so much higher, so we got to correct it. Do it right. Do it right. Yeah. Um, yeah, with that, I was thinking of uh, tank police, right? Because their tanks can just move in any direction because they have those giant just spheres for wheels, right? It's just giant balls for wheels, so they can move in like any direction at all, which I thought was so cool. I mean, talk about taking up a shit ton of space in a tank, but I loved that idea. So that's sort of what I was thinking here, where it's small but it's very mobile, right? Who knows if it would like really be able to function, but whatever. I'm not a vehicle designer. I don't need to worry about that. I do want to worry about a little bit though are these pedals. So let's get a little better perspective happening here. Like sometimes, you know, if I'm not like doing a very serious design, then I'm okay with things just being there to look cool, you know? If I'm actually like really thinking through a very serious design, then I'm gonna think about the true functionality. I would probably research, you know, a bit of, I don't know exactly what I would research for this. I think I would probably, I'm trying to think of how I want this. I know the pedal basically will go down into that, but I also want it to at least look like maybe it has a little more functionality than just that. So let's do. Actually, I kind of don't mind the idea of maybe let's doing some kind of a weird, like a almost like a hydraulic kind of thing. Technically, this would all have to have a very symmetrical curve to it to actually work, right? To actually be able to push down and not get stuck. Don't want that tangent. No tangents. We don't like tangents. And what I'll probably end up doing when I paint this is get a little bit of like kind of slick sort of grease happening, right? Just so that it kind of feels like it can really move, some kind of a hydraulic thing happening. That'll just be our go-to. Okay, for this, when someone asks how it works, we're just gonna be like, hydraulics, bro. You don't know? Okay. Let's see. Sometimes, like, I have to work my way to a shape if I don't quite see exactly, like, that compartment that pedal goes into. I'm not quite, because it didn't matter in the actual drawing. So sometimes I just have to kind of work my way there and figure out the stuff around it, you know, and get clear on those shapes. And then hopefully, not always, but sometimes, shit will click. So I think part of it is that I want that compartment to be bigger. So I want it to feel like that has space to go, you know. I want to get some more vents in here, but I also know that I'm gonna get I'm gonna get a couple, like, grenade launchers, right? Like one on either side. That will probably hook on to something that can spin, like a little turret kind of deal. So then the place where I might have put a vent will be covered, but I guess I can still get a cool, like, vent thing going here. We can work that in, maybe. We'll see. Maybe not. Let's just get it done. How about that? Here would be that. I feel like that one on the right will probably have to be kicked back more, but whatever. Hey, where'd you go? Yeah, the light, there we go. Find some of these shapes a little more. Kind of want this to have a little bit of like almost like a bevel, just because, and for no other reason than that. Now we gotta get these ellipses. Okay, I don't need the marks to be super clean, but some marks will just not work for me. Nope. Should probably also. I was gonna say I feel like the lines down the side of this thing should be kind of parallel to each other, but I don't mind that slight convergence. Except that we didn't do it on the ammo box up there. But I kind of don't mind it, but I'm gonna fix it anyway. Let's fix this one. So then we got to make sure that all of these guys are basically at the same angle. And I'm trying to figure out how I want them to fit in. I feel like I want them to be fairly snug in their little cradle. We don't want to upset the grenades. But these should be more. Come on, let's do this right. Damn it. Dang it. Right, these will have those like red caps on them or something. We'll see. Might not be red, but they might be. Yeah. Yeah, you know, like, I mean, it could have some kind of hollow sights, which implies a very different kind of tech, right? A fairly advanced technology, potentially, or at least something that is kind of different than what we're seeing here, which isn't bad. Like, I don't hate that idea. I haven't thought about it too much, but there is something I mean, there's something I kind of like of them potentially just like fucking winging it or just knowing their rig enough. But I feel like it would need something more precise than that. So I don't know. I'll have to think about that. It could be something that could be like folded back over the head of the chair, right? The headrest. And maybe it when she sits forward, right? The whole chair kind of comes forward and maybe this thing can flip it up and over. So we could imply something back there. And I mean, it could just be as simple as just getting like a little bit of like something folded back that we don't even need to know exactly what it is for this image, but then later it could, you know, something like that. I don't know. I don't know. This isn't actually like part of anything that turns. This will probably just be some kind of a, number or something. Who knows what it means? Doesn't have to mean anything. Because, like, who knows if the people manning these little, like, mobile mechs even get to play with, like, the really high-tech shit, right? Maybe they've got to, like, earn that first, you know? Once they prove that they're not just cannon fodder or something. Who knows? Who knows? How's everybody's Monday going? Anything new and exciting? Or even not new but exciting? Yeah, like it could be, you know, that these are sort of like older and they're just like, look, we gotta use everything we've got. Joshua Tree of Arts, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that very much. I honestly thought this part would not take as long as it has. I thought I would be into coloring already, but oh well. Sometimes it's just best not to rush things, right? Get them done right so you don't have to struggle with them later. Ah, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, I have to say, man, working from home has just kind of like... It's not so much that it freed up time, because technically I was waking up a lot earlier when I was commuting in, but it's freed up a lot of energy. because I don't have to commute. I don't have to sit in LA traffic anymore, and that has done wonders. You know, there would be times I would leave work and I'd be stoked. I'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna draw this. And then inevitably, like, there's just some, you know, asshole driving in Hollywood that just ruins your night. And you get home and you're just like, ugh, don't wanna do anything. The other thing that I was looking at a lot, and it was more just noticing, it is stressful. Thanks, Vagor. I appreciate it. For real. I'll be back on Thursday. I know it'll Eastern time. It's late for you, but I will be back at 7 p.m. Pacific, so 10 p.m. your time. I'll be back Thursday though, and we'll get into more stuff. We'll see. I may leave this for Thursday, so I won't work on it in between. Maybe just so we can kind of have the whole process more or less on stream would be kind of fun. But definitely appreciate you joining. Thank you. Yeah. So one of the other things I like in school. We were studying, at one point we were studying bugs, right, in our dynamic sketching class, which if any of you know who Peter Hahn is, he was actually the TA when I took that class. He has since become the teacher. Unfortunately, Norm Sherman, who was the teacher when I took it, was killed some years back, which was super shitty because Norm was an amazing teacher and a fantastic human being. And some I don't know, it's hard to say some asshole because the guy was not entirely sane, so I mean, what can you say about that? But anyway, point is, in that class we drew bugs, right? Norm had this great bug collection, and one of the things that I noticed when I was drawing them is that when you got really close and saw the different pieces, so to speak, they looked like robots. Like the way their joints were, they looked like robots. So with my mechs, I've always kind of taken some of the shapes from bugs as well. I love how that looks. And then like the spider mech in Ghost in the Shell just made so much more sense to me. These guys, I don't need to get into like crazy detail, but I do want to fix a couple little things. Need them to feel like they can bend at that joint. So I need a little bit of space there, and then I want to get that curve. but these are more about implying the detail. I just have to keep an eye on the one that I drew to at least get it close enough that, you know, they feel like they belong. I don't actually need them to be exactly the same because I can always be like, no, the back legs are a little different than the front ones. Who knows why? Doesn't matter. Stop asking so many questions. I agree. I think bugs are just cool. I mean, they look like little robots, so what's not to love? The other thing I can't forget, and let's see, because I'm pretty sure I did draw it in, at least a hint of it, is some hint of that back gun arm, right? So it looks like it's probably meant to be that hydraulic, which at least like we'll be able to kick back into space, so it won't be this dark. So hopefully the tangent won't feel so egregious. But alright, and then for this other petal, one, I do want that encasement to line up, so we're gonna have to rework that one. Although that now makes me rethink the curve on this. Shit. Although this only has to push in a couple of spots, so maybe that could still work. Perhaps. Let's see. Let's see if we can figure that out. Don't know. I don't know. No. I think it can still work. We'll just have to just trying to think of that angle, what that would be, because it wouldn't be the same angle as this. It would probably be at like a not a 45-degree angle, but maybe like a 35, so a little more. Alright. Probably looks like nonsense right now, but that's okay. Sometimes it's not even, like when I'm doing something as an underdrawing, it's not always about seeing the underdrawing clearly afterwards. Sometimes it's just about going through that motion of doing it, and then I kind of have a certain amount of muscle memory, right? And like short-term muscle memory, I guess. But that curve still doesn't work, and I like that really. That doesn't make sense. So decisions. All right, this is messing me up right now. Let's make that dependent on the curve that we end up with, which again needs to be fairly regular. Right, like a very uniform kind of a curve. So I don't want that to be lower though, because that would not make sense for the perspective. Good enough, I think. We think. That's annoying me right now, so let's turn that off. Now I gotta think about this back leg, which again, it doesn't have to be detailed. I can just kind of imply the silhouette of it. And especially knowing that I am gonna paint this up, I don't need every little detail on these. By the way, I should have done this earlier. What am I doing? Links. Right. There's a link tree. Anyone that wants to jump on the Discord can totally jump on the Discord. I would love it if you did and shared art. We could discuss art. We could discuss life. There's a bunch of other links on there too. The shop, which I've been neglecting like crazy. I do have a couple shirt designs up there. Some prints at various prices. I'm working on getting some more shirts. I'm just waiting for samples before I actually have them go live. I need to make sure everything's cool with them. So, but I will be adding more stuff to the shop in the coming weeks. Pre-order for the book, I know, is also live. For anyone that missed the Kickstarter, I'm very sorry that you missed it because it had some very cool exclusives that will not be available again, unfortunately. And I think the book, I know the Kickstarter, for anyone that did order the book on Kickstarter, pretty sure that ships in December. I don't know if the pre-order stuff ships at the same time or not. I'm not sure about that. Alright, let's it's gonna be tricky, but whatever. Whatevs. Alright, we'll get that last nade launcher in there. The Discord is also pretty new, so obviously there's like hardly anything in there. So that's why I would love it if you guys joined and, you know, helped us populate. Let's make sure these line up. How about that? That sound like a fun game? This has to be much lower. Much lower. Oh, right on. I'm glad. And you should, assuming you are also an artist, I'm assuming you are. I feel like that's a fair assumption. You should share stuff. And if you want feedback, got a couple of great artists on there that could give some very solid feedback. If you just want to share stuff, just because, that's cool too. You know, I don't want people to feel like they have to critique or get critiqued. But it's always there, regardless of what art level anyone's at, you know, even for professionals, it's helpful to run stuff by other professionals, I think, since it's pretty difficult to do any of this stuff in a complete vacuum, you know? I have friends that I discuss art with all the time, so I don't feel like I'm in a vacuum, but, you know, in these pandemic times, like, we could be in vacuums. We really could be. Alright. I'm debating about that vent because it doesn't really seem like a good place for it. So, whatever. But I think, just want to figure out what's going on here because I'm not entirely sure. Some of that we can do in the painting. So let's see here. Okay, doesn't look like we forgot anything, so that's good. Just to make sure. I'm not seeing anything that is like popping up that we missed. So, cool. Times 8:48. Alright, we can get Oh, that's cool. What kind of traditional stuff do you want to get into? You know me, I love that traditional shit. Alright. Which, I feel like that brush should work. I feel like I will probably give her flats and the mech separate flats. Just so I can quickly and easily get into that stuff. So let's give the mech some flats. Still kind of feeling the army green. Kind of dig it. So let's at least give it a base. The boring part, I know. Oh, cool. Yeah, I encourage inks very much. Inks are awesome. Confusing myself here with little tiny shapes. It happens. It happens. Let's connect that. You know what we didn't do that I did miss was the very back wheel. Why did I cover that up? Oh yeah, because I extended that thing. It's gonna be weird. I'll probably end up having to man, you would only see like a little tiny bit of it, so I'll probably end up having to add that in the paint. But that's fine. Whatevs. Whatever. Let's turn that off so we don't get distracted. Any particular like type of inks you're looking at, or just sort of in general, just wanting to work with different pens and stuff? Were you like looking specifically at brush pens or steel nibs? I mean, each one will give kind of a different effect, right? A different look. It's kind of part of the fun. Ah, nice. Yeah, that's a nice change, I think. I used to work with the Stettler pigment liners a lot, but I noticed when I was using them, I was always sort of pushing down on them, trying to get a variety of line weights. And then like I'd used brush pen before, but I think I just wasn't good enough with a brush yet to really appreciate it. But at a certain point, I did start getting into pen and ink, right, with the steel nibs, and got really into the variety of lines that I could get. And we all know that variety in lines and variety in mark making is pretty key to all of this stuff. So yeah, I was into that. And then it was actually through, let's see, I feel like we would still get some of that. It was through that then I was like, okay, hey, I'm gonna try drawing with a brush, right? Inking with a brush. Especially once I'd started doing more watercolor and got just better control over a brush. You know, and saw some comic artists that were just super dope with brushes. So, and then went back to a brush pen, and it made sense to me. Because at first I really fell in love with the Winsor Newton Series 7 brushes, right? Which were a pretty traditional comic inking brush. The Winsor Newton Series 7 number 2 is a typical one. Yeah, if you haven't picked up a Kaime brush pen, I would recommend it. They're not the cheapest of brush pens, but the control that you have with those things is awesome, I think. Not everyone likes the feel of a natural hair brush, though. If you're really used to synthetic brushes, it might feel weird. I personally am not a fan of synthetic brushes for the most part. Even though I have some synthetic oil brushes that I actually love. I was very apprehensive, but a couple companies I think have managed to do a really great job with their synthetic brushes. I don't like the amount of spring that synthetic brushes have. You know, it feels like a digital program that doesn't have enough pressure sensitivity is how they feel to me, except that, like, that's just a personal thing, right? You look at an amazing painter like Sean Cheatham, and he prefers synthetic brushes because it's what he's used to. So he's built his sensitivity around that, and I mean, shit, you can't argue with his work, right? I mean, his portraits are just so dope. Yeah, I think some of those Pentels from Japan are pretty good. I think Pentel has some that have a natural hair bristle. The only thing that I'm not a huge fan of, depending on which ones they are, and it varies from company to company, and even within the company, like which pen it is, but some of them have too short of bristles for me. So that's one of the reasons that, like, you don't get as much control with some of the brush pens, is because there just isn't long enough bristles to really give you a wide range within the medium line weights. Right, so they'll go from like very fine all the way to a heavier line weight really quick because the taper on the brush is just too blunt. But I don't remember which ones, because man, Pentel, especially in Japan, they make so many different brush pens, and I've used some that were just awesome that I like. One of them, a friend of mine had brought me from Japan, and I looked all over, ordered multiple ones that I thought was the same, but I don't read kanji, so it looked identical, felt completely different. It's like, oh man. And so finally I just like, this is so frustrating, I can't find them. And then I went back to the Kaime, which I hadn't used in a long time because it was expensive, because those things will run $30 a pop. But went back to one of those and was like, oh my god, this feels amazing. I love this brush pen. So I've just kind of stuck with them because at least like I know what I'm getting. And I don't have to read hiragana or katakana to know what the hell I'm getting. But yeah, so Pentel makes some amazing ones, and then they make others that are not as amazing. I love that Japan is so into pens, though. I think that's just awesome, right? I mean, both Pilot and Pentel make some fantastic pens. Yeah, I prefer the longer bristles just because, like, I mean, you can get super fine lines with those, and get medium lines, and then the heavy lines get to be like super deliberate. Like, you're not really gonna accidentally do a really heavy mark with some of those longer bristles. So I dig that. I want to get into at least doing like getting some local colors in here, or maybe just actually I might once I just get the flats in, I might actually hint at an environment of some kind, because sometimes that helps with lighting, right? Versus if you try and do the lighting with no environment. I mean, you can, and I mean, I do it plenty, but I do prefer to have at least like a loose environment to help me really solidify the lighting a bit more. I was gonna maybe make this a different girl, like not the same one from the previous piece, just because I was like, I always paint redheads, because I mean my girlfriend's a redhead, so I suppose it's safe to say I'm partial to redheads. But now we kind of already talked about her being the same character, so we'll stick with it. Redhead it is. Although I'm gonna tweak the face a bit, and I kind of want to go back to the other mech girl. I've been wanting to for a while and tweak her face. I think there was a bit of where I was struggling with Procreate a little at the time. It was one of the first pieces that I'd really started to paint up in Procreate. So I think some of that made it a little hard for me to really like get the face that I wanted at that time. So there's some things I kind of want to tweak. I agree, Advocate. I agree. And I agree, Joshua Tree. Joshua Tree of Arts. We do gravitate toward what we like. You know, it's also good as artists to kind of switch things up, and I tend to draw and paint a lot of redheads, and it's like maybe it would be a good chance to kind of switch it up, but whatever. Whatevs. Okay. And for anyone that doesn't know, I'm talking about this one, right, was the other one, which is sort of the escalation, right? This is her now piloting a much larger mech. But they're just some little shapes. Wow, I forgot I even gave her like the same headband. I'm glad I saw that. I might switch up the color this time though. But shit, I forgot. I kind of dig the magenta and black. Like it has this kind of sports attire, you know, like athletic attire vibe. There's something fun there. But it could be kind of fun if she has some different colors in the previous piece. Yeah, we'll see. There's a lot that I love in here, so I don't want to totally abandon some of those ideas. This is what I was talking about earlier, referencing those big howitzers. I was basically looking at those for shapes and then just adding and subtracting some shit. So, yeah. Well, hello. There we go. We'll get there. So let's give her a kind of hotter color. I don't want to go too saturated right now. But just to get her flats in there, and so we have good separation between her and the tank. The mech. Though I feel like in this world they would still call them tanks. I kind of like that idea. You know, sort of like, I mean, we still call a phone a phone. Although I don't think anyone says telephone anymore, right? Either a phone or a cell phone. So I kind of like the idea that maybe they would still call them tanks, but I'd have to really think about the meaning of that and whether it would still fit. And I don't know. Do I like designing machines? I do. My natural inclination is actually more toward organic shapes, and like I always preferred illustrating fantasy more than like sci-fi stuff. But eventually, I did find my own way into doing more of the tech kind of shapes, and once I did, then I started to really enjoy playing around with that. I would never like presume to be a vehicle designer or anything like that, because I think I would need a much deeper understanding of them. I can do it, but sometimes it feels like a little bit of a fluke at times. Like I sort of landed on a cool design almost by accident, even though I know it's not entirely by accident. Like I got there through some very deliberate steps, but like I think I know how to get to a certain place with it, but if I had to like completely change it up and start designing things, let's not forget, we'll get back to that. I don't want to forget that joystick. I don't know what it would actually be called in this case. I feel like joystick is a very video game. And that would sort of trivialize her death machine if we called it a joystick. And maybe lend a certain air of psychopathy to her, and we don't want to do that. So yeah, I mean, I enjoy it. I enjoy designing these things to a certain degree, but I think only for my own projects. Like I wouldn't want to take on a job where I was designing vehicles. That would probably drive me insane. Knowing the kind of iteration I would have to do on it, I would go crazy. I'd be like, nope, this is my design, take it or leave it. No, I will not iterate. But that's also partly why I think I didn't really pursue concept design. Was once it became clear that what they really wanted was this iterative process, for everything, film, games, whatever. And that's just not, I don't find that stuff fun. So, and I don't want to come up with like 15 different styles of plaid shirts, Again, what's his name? Richard Lyons, right? Is that his name? The guy who, the Naughty Dog character designer. He's such a badass, man. And I love seeing his iterations. I would not have the patience for that, so I applaud him. And I'm sure it was a learned thing, They didn't always iterate so much in the game industry. But as things became more and more and more realistic, I think it made sense, I guess. But I couldn't do it. But man, I do love his stuff. It is. Industrial design is like its own thing. But I know like for some of them, they look at, the more organic stuff, character design and things like that. And for some of them, that's a whole other thing, like they're not used to thinking in those organic terms and like soft bodies, right? And even some of the ones that do kind of make the jump and they go from product design or industrial design to doing characters, it's rarely, I hate to say it, but they're rarely as good as people that really gravitate toward organic shapes. Their stuff will, while their designs can be good, their art will often be rather stiff. But I mean, at the same time, like, that's fine. They're not animating the characters, right? They just need to come up with cool designs. So I think it's okay if their stuff is a bit stiff. It's just from the standpoint of like looking at it in like a concept art book or something, then I'm like, it's a little stiff. But for the product, it doesn't actually matter. Right, because then someone else will model the character, someone else will be animating the character, and those are the ones that need to not be stiff, right? Really, I always think what I should do is just do like, a line around the contour and then just flood fill, but it takes like a minute to block in that center portion, so it doesn't actually matter that much. Like, saving myself a minute in the entire illustration doesn't mean shit. Flats. I wonder how much time I've spent on live streams doing flats. And each time I think, okay, I'm gonna blast through this. But the problem is that it falls right in between all the other stuff, And so it's just kind of like there's kind of no way to avoid it unless I want to just cut a stream short, which I don't really want to do because I won't be back for a couple days. So alright, we're almost done with this portion, so we'll be able to get into some more painty paint. Painterly painty paint. And this shit saves us a ton of time down the road, so we will just deal with it. And then I almost didn't start this one today just because I was like, well, I just posted her on Instagram on Saturday, and I don't really like it when I end up posting like even iterations of the same image, like back to back. But we'll see. It's not such a big deal if it goes from like essentially black and white to color. But I might wait to post her for the final. Yeah, and I had friends that were industrial designers, And I mean, it was cool, you know, like I really loved seeing their drawings, you know, and I mean, it was a lot of fun to just kind of like exchange art knowledge, you know, and just sort of learn a little bit about the way that they're taught to analyze things and analyze shapes and light and surfaces and stuff like that. You know, and they've all gone on to do some cool shit too, you know, whether it's working for we're not going to deal with these just yet, like Samsung or something. I have one friend that he went to school for product design and then ended up going back to school for engineering, and he now, I think he's like I want to say he's a project manager at JPL, so that's cool. Love picking his brain. Just telling him one of these days I really want to have like a drunken science night with him where we just like get hammered and ask him crazy science questions and hear his crazy science answers. Ooh, that's not good. I'm just looking down at the bottom of my iPad screen. There's a little bit of a weird light bleed happening there. I never saw that before. I do kind of feel like it might be time to get a new iPad soon. I've just been trying to hold out for them to actually like give it a decent upgrade. You know, like going from 4 gigs of RAM to 6 gigs of RAM just wasn't enough. I wasn't impressed with that. Yeah, I would add some layers, but it's not enough to be able to do like finished work. For my own stuff, it's plenty. But I would love it if they introduced enough RAM that I could do finished pieces for work, but it can't handle files that size right now, so I've been trying to hold out. I don't want to like get a new iPad and then 3 months later they're like, hey, check out our brand new iPad. MK Illustrates, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. I hope the flats aren't too boring to watch. They're pretty much done. I was gonna maybe knock in some local colors. Dude, really? But I think I kind of want to get a sense of environment and lighting that I can play off of. And I don't know. I sort of like... I'm wondering how, not morbid, but kind of morbid, I might want to go. I don't want to overdo it, but I have ideas. Right on. I'm glad you like it. So one of the things I was considering was like hinting at like this could be after a battle, although I feel like I don't know if she would have, maybe she could be toward the end of her bullet belt, so maybe there are bullets on that top half and then the end of it like could be either hanging free or something, be empty essentially, but have sort of hint at the aftermath of a battle, like she's sort of just waiting for transpo, you know, to come pick her up, and she's like, damn it, now I gotta fix my nails after that battle. I don't know, there's something kind of fun to me about that. So let's just get some. But I'm still kind of liking the idea of it being kind of a sunny day out in the Badlands somewhere. She's like, I don't even know why we're out here killing these mindless desert bugs, desert creatures. They just run right into our guns. And it's like not even a challenge. Just like, when am I gonna like get to pilot one of the Mega Mechs? That's what I want. It's like, this shit's just boring. They get all the fun assignments. Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be fun, and and we can hint at some like silhouettes and stuff back here, and just want to make sure we get our perspective right and get this horizon line somewhat correct. I actually don't mind if it's a little low. On that clear blue sky. Maybe we'll get like one little solitary cloud up there or something. But it starts to give us a sense of where the lighting might go already, which is kind of fun. I enjoy that. Right. So I know there was talk about maybe putting her inside a cargo bay, but honestly I kind of liked this idea that was floating around in my head. And oh yeah, I know, Autumn, I was gonna do it. I know I was gonna switch to streaming on like Tuesdays and Thursdays, but then I realized like I do Zoom with the family on Tuesdays because it's kind of the only time that we can all do it. So I was like, well, that's not gonna work. So oh well. How did your stream go, dude? Did it go well? We're just here painting our bored mech girl. She seems like she's always kind of bored. I'm gonna have to like do at least one scene of her like in action or something, because she's always just like painting her nails. Gotta look good, right? Got to look good. Let's get that cooler. Let's see. Is that? Doesn't feel. And I'm probably gonna blur whatever goes back here, so I'm not super worried. But I want that color to be right. So I feel like it should be a little more blue. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a tough one. It's hard, like when you're really used to doing these like kind of harder edged painterly sort of, not, I mean he goes painterly too, but in a different way. Yeah, I've always kind of struggled with that approach myself. I would see people do it even when they were working in acrylics or oils or something, you know, where they'd like kind of creep up on the harder edges, and I loved the progression. And I loved how it looked, because they would just end up with some beautiful soft spots and areas, and then like this great like focal point that was all sharp, and I could never do it. I feel like maybe I could now, but you know, not back then. No sir. I want this to be a bit more directional. I think I want. Okay, let's get that. I know that this back wheel is like, you're barely gonna be able to see it, but it's gonna affect the light, so gotta get it in there. Yeah, new challenges are a good thing. New challenges. So then it's just a matter of how overhead we want this light to be, right? And I think maybe a little overhead would be kind of nice, but not like directly. So we'll have to refine some of this. But we don't have to get super crazy with it. But let's think about what angle this might be at, because it could be kind of fun to actually get like the shadow of her hand or something in here. You know, we'll see. It might make it into the end, it might not. But it'd be kind of a fun little detail in there. And one of those details where it's like, I feel like because it's in there, it like people would dig it, where they wouldn't miss it if it wasn't in there. And I don't really think that they'll question it being in there, right? But we'll see. We'll see how, if it survives the triage phase or not. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Let's get. I want to get some, like, hinted at this past battle, so I want to get some burnt out sort of areas back here, and we'll get some smoke going. The one that I'm currently painting with actually is like a flat brush. It's a hard flat brush. I'm not actually using a round. I will show you, right? So here, let's do this. So that's what the brush head looks like. And it just allows me to get, because like I want a brush that feels like my oil painting brushes, because I like flat brushes and oils, and it just, that way I don't have to change my thought process, and stuff that I do here can potentially translate into oils and vice versa. So yeah, I have this. I did bring it in from Photoshop. It's a brush that I had tweaked, and I don't remember if I added my own texture to it or not. I think I may have actually, when I brought it in here, I may have actually put a Procreate texture onto it just because it worked better with Procreate. But it's nice because, you know, I can tilt my brush and get a much like softer, textury kind of a vibe, or I can hold it more vertical and it goes opaque much quicker. So it has some nice controls that I was able to kind of add in with Procreate. So yeah, I don't tend to use a lot of rounds. Yeah, but this isn't that square chalk brush, Autumn. This is more the oil brush. Originally in Photoshop, it's the one that I have my linen texture on, where I'd scanned in that linen panel and did a high-res linen texture. So originally it was that brush, but I didn't want linen because I didn't actually want the stuff to look like an oil painting. I do have my linen brush here, right? And so this one, ooh, there we go. You can see the linen texture, and I had scanned in that linen texture. But I didn't tweak this one at all to work with Procreate, and so it's a bit sensitive, really sensitive actually. But this was basically linen from a nice Belgian linen panel that I have, and I just scanned it in to make the texture. So okay, I'm wrong. This one that I'm using here, I actually made this one in Procreate, because this one has a much finer, if you look at how narrow that brush head is, that's my Photoshop brush. But if you make brushes in Procreate, they don't work as well with such a thin brush head. For some reason, they need to be a little thicker. So I had created one in Procreate, and that's what I'm using here. So yeah, I apologize. Custom brush. Well, good. I'm glad that I reminded myself of that, because then I would not feel bad, you know, maybe putting it in a brush set at some point, even though I don't really have enough brushes, custom brushes, to make a set out of. But here I was thinking it was one based on a brush from another set, but it's not. Yay! All right. It does. Yeah, that brush was crazy because it had that insanely big texture attached to it. But I was like, I wanted it to have a massive texture so that I could paint a really large, piece in Photoshop and not have the texture just repeat on me like every square inch. So I hate that shit. Everyone always makes brushes with digital delivery in mind, and no one thinks about print. So, like, people don't tend to make high enough resolution brushes when they do stuff for print purposes. And it's really annoying. So I got to do it myself. Whatevs. It's cool. You can do it. I got this. It's funny though, I've actually been wanting to do a bit more with just like the round brush because I feel like it lends itself so well to certain types of rendering, that I just think like I need to work on. I need to work on certain types of rendering because every now and then we get an ask like that at work. And then I don't have a process for it, and I have to figure it out all over again, and it takes me twice as long as it should. It's very annoying. I want to get some kind of like blast marks going, and then we'll also get some texture on the ground and shit. Should actually probably do that first. Let's do that right now, just so that we're not left floundering. What kind of texture do I want? I feel like this will give me pretty good texture. Near. Hard light, I think, will be better. Okay. And for this kind of stuff, I'll just go through and look for like textured brushes that I like. It's not about getting super specific with with stuff. I just want some texture that I can kind of play with. This brush works as like a multiply or something, so that's fine. Ooh, that might be a little much. Yeah, it might be a little bit much. Okay. And then I'll just one more thing. What am I looking for? I like his snow scatter. It's kind of a fun brush for some texture. Right, a nice kind of organic kind of a feel. There's a method to my madness, I promise. I'm not going crazy. It's just kind of a quick way to get texture that's like in perspective, right? So it's, nothing crazy, just enough to give it a sense of perspective. No, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. I have methods and plots and schemes. Some of that texture don't want to overpower like the burn marks and shit. Let's do, let's grab you. I feel like I should do this on a separate layer though, otherwise I know I'll kick myself later if I don't. I work for an ad agency. Actually, both Arthur Kell and I work for an ad agency out in Hollywood. So we spend most of our days working on stuff for movie posters and video game covers and TV advertisement, posters and billboards and things. So that's what we do with most of our days. It's not really painting up stuff like this, but that's why I paint up stuff like this on my free time. Because I don't get to do it at work. But, I mean, we do some fun shit at work, too. Like, in the grand scheme of things, I cannot complain. So let's get a little bit more smokiness happening. And I may play with some that's a bit closer. Like, I actually wouldn't even mind some getting kind of pushed along the ground in the front, but we'll see. I'm not trying to go too crazy with the environment just yet. I just want to get it to a certain point, and then be able to kind of start painting her and her little battle tank. Yeah, so I mean I think that's partly where it's like, you know, we'll have shortcuts for things or quick ways to get certain looks or effects, and it's because like advertising, you know, our timelines are so short for stuff, you know. Like at work this week I'm doing 2 illustrations, you know. And then got another one I got to do next week, which is a short week. Next week, by the way. Autumn, Monday is a holiday, just FYI. I don't think it will be for me, but it is for you. Yeah, I think we probably will want some smoke up front. I just feel like it's gonna need it to kind of tie some of that stuff together. I'm not actually really gonna worry about it. I just kind of want to get a feel for what that might be like. Right, like kind of wafting along. And I'll probably want to get some of it down on the low on the ground behind her too, so it doesn't feel like over convenient that it's not totally obscuring her. It's kind of a fucked up scene though if you think about it too much. Whatever. She don't give a fuck. Let's get some a little bit of lighter stuff going on in there too. Always nice to get a variety of, you know, like there are different materials that are burning, right? Unless it's all just from like wood smoke, and then you can have smoke that's more or less one color. But I feel like as soon as you get onto the battlefield, you have different things that are burning, and so it's nice to get a little bit of variety in the smoke color, you know. Not to mention we'd probably get into some lighting with it too, but maybe not. Maybe not. Let's get I know there's a few tracks in here are just like whoa. Especially if I'm drawing something that isn't super intense, it gets kind of comical sometimes, I think. But sometimes I'm, you know, doing stuff that is intense, so I need it to fit all kinds of things. I think when I was just doing the line work on her hand, it like, and a really dramatic track was on, it's just like, this is silly. It's like the most dramatic nail painting ever. It's a dramatic manicure. Alright. I was gonna play with blurring some of that stuff, but I don't really know if it needs it, to be honest. I kind of like the clear blue sky, though I was toying with the idea of like a lone cloud, a lone solitary cloud. Should be kind of fun, but I don't know. It would have to be just like the perfect cloud to really be able to pull it off. It could be kind of fun too to do like just a stylized cloud and just give it a very different vibe, but I don't know. I mean, I like how the cloud ties it in to the other one too, just even in terms of like color scheme, right? It's kind of fun. I'm not hating it. I ain't mad at it. So we might. I won't delete it, but I might just turn it off and see how I feel about it later. Not sure. Ain't sure. Although I feel like we would need to get a bit of warm underlight on there. And the fun thing is we could have almost total white on that in this lighting scenario. One of the few places that can work without getting ridiculous, but it's kind of fun. But I feel like maybe it could start to get too busy too. So, like I said, I'm not gonna delete it, but I don't hate the idea. Oh, right on, Jade. I'm glad you did too. I didn't know this was your first time on this channel. Right on, I appreciate it. Oh yeah, MK? What kind of stuff are you wanting to do for ad agencies? Out of curiosity. I mean, right now, my guess is, like us, many of them are gonna have a bit of a hiring freeze for a little while longer. So, but I'm sure some of them are still using freelancers right now too. We've got a pretty solid team of artists, so we're not doing much of the freelance stuff right now, but hopefully soon we'll be able to get back to that. Got some friends I'd love to get back in the game. All right, let's figure out her colors. Curate that. I like the colors that I had set up, but I kind of want to switch it up. Almost like, even though she's wearing pretty much the same outfit, I almost feel like her outfit in the other one goes with that mech. And I feel like maybe here she's a little more of a grunt, so maybe she doesn't have as many options. Though I'm still gonna have little like customized painting things on her mech, but for now, let's I gotta call it a night soon. Get up early and get some work done, but feel like we can still at least knock in some colors. Would be good. Don't ask me why she's out in the sun with fair skin. So maybe we'll give her a little bit of that. Maybe she's like got some Italian blood in her and she can actually tan. Get a bit of that olive tan going, maybe. I kind of want it a little more red. I don't hate the idea. And this is just a general tone. I would, when I actually start painting her, I would vary the colors, right? Get a little darker toward the appendages, or on the appendages. A little lighter toward the torso. Get some color variation in there as well. A little more warms and cools, but for a base, this will get the job done. If there are any new viewers, I will show you real quick refresher about who the other one I'm talking about, right? It's her. So here she gets to be inside the mech, so she's all like fair-skinned here. I do want to, I was saying earlier, I want to tweak her face because her face didn't end up the way I wanted, because this was like one of my first forays into Procreate when I did this piece a couple years back. Oops, let's not do that. So I was struggling with the app a bit, and the face got away from me. It flattened out too much, and not super happy with it. So you want to tweak that at some point, but overall I like this piece a lot. So yeah, just sort of taken some ideas from this. Same design essentially, but I do want to switch up her colors. So but for now I just want to get the local colors in. Nothing crazy. Because otherwise I could just keep painting on this, but I actually have to sleep at some point tonight, so that's the hard part. I start doing this stuff and then I don't want to go to bed, but I got to. The flats just took longer than I wanted, so now I feel like I gotta make up for it. Kind of like that because I don't usually do that kind of more olive skin tone, but it's kind of fun. I have a soft brush in here somewhere, don't I? Soft brush. Not that tiny though. A little bit of warm tones. Very, very subtle though. I don't want to go too crazy with it just yet. But apparently I just can't quite help myself, so we're still gonna play around with some that might get a little too dark, because I do still want her to have that sort of potential for the fair skin. So let's keep the current tone as like the darker end of her spectrum. Because she does still have red hair, so, you know, it'd be a little weird if she was like super dark with red hair. Even though I think I know I've seen redheads that can tan, and I mean, whatever, my girlfriend can tan. It just, she's paying for doing that now, you know, skin cancer and shit. Always having to deal with that. Alright. More colors. I usually like to keep skin tones and clothing on different layers. Although I don't actually want to keep the hair and the skin on a different layer. So let's get that in there. And the reason I don't like to keep the hair and the skin on separate layers is for the hairline. I like to be able to blend those, right? You don't really want a hard hairline. It just doesn't read right, unless it's a stylistic thing, right? But generally you want to be able to get that soft transition. And again, I just can't seem to help myself. I gotta get color variations in, but that's okay. Whatever. The 80s child in me loves big hair, I guess. There are a lot of things I actually do like from the 80s in terms of silhouettes. And then a lot of things I really can't stand. Like, I actually love the silhouettes from the 80s, but I fucking hate the textiles. Oh my god, they were obnoxious as shit. Can't do it. Can't do it. Yeah, big hair. My channel, you stream every 2 days. I stream almost every 2 days. I'm trying to really solidify a regular streaming schedule, and I think it'll probably end up being Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Saturdays are nice because it's a Saturday afternoon, so you know, different people can kind of get in and watch. You know, when I stream at night, obviously it's hard for East Coasters unless they're complete night owls. On the European side, it probably actually kind of works out. Trying to decide. I want to give her, like, her headband, I want it to be the same design, but I don't want it to be the same color as the other one. So let's do a different, I actually kind of want to give her a light one. I think that'd be kind of fun. Let's give her a nice light sort of teal. Sometimes I like to play with just throwing in some lighter value colors. You know, it's one of those things where, like, when you're like really used to fashion or something, or used to seeing people like dressing up or like really paying attention to their outfits and all that stuff, and then like you see a girl just wearing jeans and a white t-shirt and you're just like, oh my god, it's like the hottest thing ever. And then you think about it, you're like, dude, it's just fucking jeans and a white t-shirt, what the hell? But there's just something about that like light white t-shirt that like becomes an accent piece, you know, when otherwise you're used to like everybody just wearing like just dark colors all the time, right? Especially for any of the New Yorkers. You know, so I don't know, sometimes I like to kind of play with going the other way and just doing like light colors. It's fun, refreshing. I dig it. Still do want her to have some magenta accents though, because it's kind of her jam. Probably because it's kind of my jam. I don't know why I like magenta so much. It's just such a cool color. It's so much fun to play with, and it just like punches you in the face a little bit in like the most fun way possible. It's a fun punch in the face. I don't know why I'm not zooming in on this, but whatever. I don't zoom in. It's not my thing. That the buckle that her headband uses is actually like a wood thing. I feel like in the other one it looks a little too much like it's metallic, and I don't want that, so we're gonna darken it a bit. Oh, that's like the exact same value as her hair. That ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work, even though her hair is gonna change a bit too with the light hitting it and shit. Before I forget, let's get her eyes in there. Get her eyes in there. In there. Little Miss Green Eyes. Gotta have the green eyes, the red hair, right? Do that kind of blue, little blue-green. Blue-green. Yeah, no problem, Jade. I mean, if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to shout out. And if I have the answer, I will answer. Maybe someone else has the answer. I'm trying to think of her lip color, and I kind of want to go with a more natural lip color, I think. Somewhat. I mean, it could be lipstick still, but I don't want it to be like, I don't think I want it to be super hot lipstick. I kind of like a little more chill color, though that's still a bit of a statement. Make it just a little lighter. Yeah, I can dig it. I can dig it. Can you dig it? Shit. Alright. Uniform time. So kinda like the idea of like pops of color. But maybe like it could be a little more generic than her other one. So maybe we'll start with like a gray base and then work some accents in there. Though I do love this like strawberry ice cream kind of pink that's going on right now. It's really fun. But let's start with shit. I suppose I could just shift that color, huh? See how that looks. That'll be a little easier than having to paint all of it. And then we can bring some color back. It's so cool in white. It's always so cool in white, but we're not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. Okay, start with our gray. And then we'll add some colors. I'm actually kind of liking this teal, but I think we'll go a little darker on the rest of her outfit. Knowing that things on the mech are gonna change, so I'm not worried about, you know, the simultaneous contrast with value there. Woo! Dramatic manicure music. I'm telling you. Kind of fits the, the smoke and shit in the background. Just make her seem like some kind of angel of death. Collar. I feel like I should hint it a little bit on the far side there. This step, the skin tone bleeding on, was making it look almost like she had a sheer top on, and that would be I'm not entirely concerned with like, you know, it being awkward, her going into battle in a certain way, because obviously this is not battle ready attire if you think about it too hard, or if you think about it at all. But we don't care that much. It's a fun image, right? That's what we care about. Teal and think of more accents. Kind of want her shorts to be teal. I feel like they would have a gray stripe down the side, but we can't see the side, so we ain't gonna worry about it. Oh, we'll have to hit her nails now with our magenta. So it's still sort of like a similar, I mean, basically the same design motif. as the other one, right? Because even the other gloves, she has like magenta pads on the palms. Just like different colors. Maybe she doesn't actually get to choose her color, right? Yet. She's got to earn her stripes first. Let's see here. And maybe these will have that teal stripe down the side. Hey, Mr. Fly 13. Thank you for the host. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. I might get a third color going on her outfit, just as like you say, kind of a bit of an accent, another accent. I'm just not entirely sure. I might get some black going, but I don't know. That might be a little much. But maybe, I don't hate the idea, or at least maybe some darker gray. Not like black. Plus this isn't even like real gray, so it's just a desatted magenta. But I'm just thinking for like her belt and maybe a couple other, wow, look how cool that looks next to the like desat magenta. That's crazy. It looks like some kind of blue, even though it's just a more desatted magenta, but that's kind of a fun contrast. And that was the loop for the on the belt, not her shorts. That probably would make more sense to repeat this color on all the little belts, but I kind of don't want to. I think initially in my head, she had a helmet that would attach on, and that's what this thing around her neck was meant for. And then somewhere along the lines, just did away with the helmet, but she was left with that weird collar thing around her neck. But maybe she could attach a helmet. She just hasn't. feel like maybe her shoes will be dark. I think. Although, let's not do that. At least not to that extent. Her shoes have a little bit more pop to them. Let's not forget the cap. Magenta nails, magenta polish. Can't really see the nails on the other one, but that's fine. That's fine. We don't need to see them. Where'd you go? Come back. Did I not? Okay. Okay, I feel like that's her local colors. It's kind of fun. I don't have time tonight to get into the colors of the mech. So I think that will have to wait for Thursday. But at least on Thursday we can get the colors on the mech in and then hopefully actually start rendering on this. Because that would be fun. So I'm hoping we can wrap this up by the end of the stream on Saturday. That would be rad. Be a fun little excursion. Kind of want to add details. Gotta have them. Okay. Now I think we're gonna call it for tonight. I don't know if there's let's see. Let us see. Who's doing what? We've got a couple of people that are on. I'm not feeling that one.
You there again?
Can't get lost in...
No, go away. I have to be careful though when I raid, or else if they're playing music that I can't stream, then like YouTube freaks out afterward. Ads. I don't like ads. Anyway, whatever. No, I still feel like we should maybe stream. Maybe. Or raid. No. Alright. I'm not gonna worry about it. We're not raiding tonight. Who? Wait, who's that? Dave Greco? Do I know? Oh. Oh yeah, I know Dave Greco. What is he working on? That dude has like so many viewers. It's wild. Is he live right now though? I don't think he's live right now. Oh. Damn it, Dave. All right. Okay. We will raid. We'll raid Mega Animation. I dig her stuff, and she's rad. So let's do that. Everyone on YouTube, thank you for joining. We're gonna call it. Everyone on Twitch, we're gonna raid. So we're gonna raid now. Goodbye.